I don't know. It sounds literally crazy, but then I'm old. It's so sad. It really is sad, don't you think? Oh my gosh.
This next one is The Dark Reality of iPad Kids
Oh no.
by Moon.
Have you ever heard of Generation Alpha, the kids of Generation Z and Millennials, the first generation brought up by the internet? And have you ever wondered, what world will they be living in? What will their culture, the music they listen to, the content they consume, their interests and passions in life be? And where will they direct the future of humanity? Well, just by looking at Generation Z, and it's not looking too good. But to understand why, we need to understand who Generation Alpha will grow up to be, and why they will be this way. And trust me when I say that Generation Alpha will be unlike anything we've ever seen before. Generation Alpha is becoming Generation Goldfish.
Oh,
Studies
no.
clearly show that exposure to screens for excessive periods of time is associated with attention problems and memory issues. And today in the US, Generation Alpha, particularly children ages 8 to 12, spend 46 hours a day watching screens, whereas teens are spending up to 9 hours on average.
Wow.
Does any of this surprise you?
It doesn't necessarily surprise me, but it's hard to see it in black and white.
What do you mean?
They can tell you that, children are spending, but to see it right there, teens spend a mind-boggling 9 hours a day using media. I know my under 10-year-old grandchildren both have iPads, and they use them, my grandson especially more. I went to a friend's house, and their kids were on computers in their rooms and hadn't seen them in hours. I'm blessed that you grew up when you did, though right now your whole career in life is behind media. So
and it's staggering because you look at it, 9 hours a day by a teen. So obviously they're still in school. They're getting out of school at roughly 3, maybe 4, whatever it may be, maybe 2, somewhere around there roughly.
right.
And then that leaves them 2 to 9. Well, what time is?
Yeah, but you got to imagine they got lunch at school. They probably use their phones in school.
Oh, I guess
They're on
it
the
does
computer.
say using media.
Yeah,
So
they're
I
on
guess
their computers at school.
That's true. That could be on their phone while they're at school.
Correct.
That makes
So
sense.
it's
Does make a lot
still
more
a
sense
lot
then.
of time, though.
Yeah, it is. It is in front of a screen.
Children shouldn't be up but 10 or 12 hours a day. And if 75% of that day is with something handheld in their hand, I don't know. Social lives are gone, I guess.
You see, in previous generations, we can see this general transition into these weird unnatural problems that we face today. From boomers back in the 60s to Generation Z today, there has been a growing decline in mental health, prosperity, and happiness. And at least even members of Gen Z knew a world that wasn't solely dominated by the internet. But Generation Alpha doesn't. How could it? We're talking about children who have basically from birth been raised by an iPad in their tiny little hands, with their parents being Reddit, 4chan, Logan Pauls, and Mr. Beast. Their entire persona is crafted by people on screens, and who knows who they're gonna see? And when they're not online, how will they even know who they are if their entire persona is an online persona?
So let me ask: Is the thing that people get from social media and from these quick attention grabs, is this attention or is this stimulation? Because it almost feels like what's the alternative for this for parents? It's parents to be active within their child's life and to essentially occupy their mind, occupy their time. It's almost like a replacement for it.
Well, I know that when you and my other child, you guys watch cartoons. You guys were, I turned the TV on so I could get something done.
Sure.
So that in turn is now phones and tablets and all things like that so the parents could get more done. But if you probably looked inside people's homes, I would imagine they're not necessarily getting anything done. They're basically probably looking at their handheld device also. I just had this vision a minute ago of they pretty soon won't even need playgrounds. They'll just have charging stations. Just a park with charging stations so everybody can make sure their phones or their tablets are always charged. There's no toys, there's no equipment.
Yeah.
It's a sad sad sight in my mind, and it probably won't be that way, but one never knows.
I don't think it's I don't think it's that far out of the realm of possibility, because you see it in airports. You see all the charging stations
Right.
and the constant access
A
to.
lot of restaurants also too
True.
even have charging. So I mean, maybe they won't eliminate the playground equipment, but they'll add charging stations to them.
Yeah, right.
It's kind of scary. I'm really glad that we had cartoons, but you guys didn't spend all your waking hours in front of them. But when I was a child, Saturday morning cartoons was a treat.
Right.
We didn't watch cartoons any other time except Saturday morning, and I'm sure my generation can relate to that. From TV and cartoons to tablets and phones and how many times do you see children? Oh, we're gonna go out to eat. Oh, don't forget to take
Right.
your tablet.
So these are just varying levels of stimulation then? Is that what this boils down to? Because you look at, like the video says, the kids aren't interested in television these days. They're more interested in the immediate, quick-lived
gratification.
Yeah, and bright, and if there's too many ads, they're gone. As they go on, then they need more and more stimulation to keep going, and that contributes to the fishbowl generation too, as he said.
Right. It's kind of scary, and if it's believed that they're making children stupid, but if you don't use your own brain and your own logic, what else do you call it? I guess.
I'm sure you haven't seen Idiocracy, right?
And I think we discussed it. I have not seen it. No.
Mm-hmm. That one is, some people even call it a modern day documentary. It's pretty wild how they predict a lot of things that are just kind of exaggerated but are clearly taking shape already. And then Blade Runner. I'm sure you haven't seen Blade Runner, right? Yeah, that's another one we might have to look into. They show the more glorifying of technology and cybernetic implants, and essentially emphasizing and profiting off of people's loneliness, like he's saying. So by doing that, they have AI, and I guess their graphics are projections of women, and they serve as mates, and they love the guys, and the guys don't get regular like it's almost like looked down upon to have a regular relationship.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, it's normal for you to be with an android or an AI or something like that,
It's kind of scary.
What are your thoughts on that in general?
I mean, how do we know it's already not in the process of stuff like that happening now?
Well, people are already getting addicted to their AI partners that are on their phones. So it's already a thing, absolutely. I just wanted to know your thoughts on it. Are you not for it? Are you against? Are you for it or against it?
I wouldn't want that kind of attention or relationship. I mean, what do you get out of that? That's
Yeah, but if you don't get any other affection, attention, and you're desperate and starving for it, and a real person doesn't want anything to do with you for whatever reason, maybe you're some malformed, maybe you just poor, maybe you're ugly, maybe whatever is causing people to not want to be around you, is if this is the only form of affection that you can get, is it okay then?
I don't think so. Is there anything replacing human affection? I mean, is it for real? I mean, yeah, you can get a robot or, as you said, an AI.
Or an android.
Yeah, to show you attention and all that. But, I mean, is that going to be enough? Are you going to get bored with that? That's what I would think.
But if that's all you can get.
I don't ever want to think that way.
I know, but that's the sad reality for a lot of people. I know you don't like to acknowledge and think about it. I get that. But as far as it being okay, like it's not fair for somebody that has no friends or family, literally nothing going for them in life, if they can get some form of happiness by an android partner that can give them love and attention, false and artificial as it may be, you're going to deny him that or look down upon him for that?
Well, I guess nobody would know if he has no other human, companions or stuff like that. I can't picture it, so I don't like it. I'm not for it. I just think that there's always a way to have some human contact. But if that's all they can get, I don't know. I feel bad to say no, they shouldn't.
Right, because it's you may not be able to comprehend or relate to this, but I can tell you for sure, a lot of men in particular have to deal with genuine loneliness and being alone 24/7.
I guess that's different than like the old blow-up dolls or the silicone dolls that they have, because that's all physical and there's no interaction there. It's, so this is more than that. This is like having a robot love you.
Yeah. And a lot of people love their robots back.
I guess. I mean, I feel bad for those people, but if that's enough, I mean, I don't know, maybe they should just go buy a dog or a cat. That's unconditional love.
Yeah.
Versus a non-reality form of love and attention. Am I wrong? Going on a dating site and finding somebody on a dating site, a real person, seems better to me than having a virtual relationship.
And what things about a real person are more appealing to you?
Well, you can physically do things together. Go watch a sunset instead of watching it on a screen.
Okay, well, you can do that with an android, a physical android, too.
You can take a walk on a beach and watch a sunset with a physical android.
I'll walk right along with you, hold your hand.
Tell me how he's feeling.
Whatever you want him to
That's
say
like a
or be.
relationship with self. I don't know. It sounds literally crazy. But then I'm old. I'd rather find a real person.
Most people would. But if you can't, that's the whole thing, is that's what it's for. Whether you cannot get a partner or you do not want a partner, these androids are for that person. Yeah, we're kind of going way off track here. Let's hop back to iPad kids. No, this is my bad.
Into a huge rise in something we're already seeing today, internet addiction disorder, otherwise known as IAD. IAD is a product of both nature and nurture. As millennials and Gen Z have babies, some newborns may have a genetic predisposition towards tech addiction. Millions of millennials and Gen Zers are obviously addicted to social media today, and this will only be passed on to their kids, but in a much grander way. Because coupled with the fact that many children are now handed an iPad at the age of 1 or 2 to silence them or make them stop crying, and you have a recipe for absolute disaster in the next generation. A completely virtual society with our entire dopamine system rewired. But not only are members of Generation Alpha having their consciousness completely rewired, they're also more likely to have a nihilistic view of the world. Inspired by Nietzsche, Nolan Gertz, the author of Nihilism and Technology, argues rather persuasively that digital advancements are amplifying a state of passive nihilism, where individuals adopt a sense of profound resignation and basically give up on life. In his own words, in everyday usage, nihilism is taken to mean something roughly equivalent to the expression "who cares?" In other words, when we say that someone is a nihilist, we mean that this person is someone who does not care and someone who believes that in general no one else cares either.
That is very well put.
It's so sad. It really is sad, don't you think? A person who's someone who does not care and someone who believes that in general no one else cares either. I mean, I guess though, if you look at these children that are at 2 and 3 years old, that's good enough attention for them. That's all they need. And this is how they're growing up.
Right, and the more and more they get and the quicker and quicker they get it, the faster the tolerance builds up and just makes the child unable to cope and operate, even waiting just a few seconds for anything.
You know, that's like, I love the parents that say, oh, my kid's not getting a phone till they're 13 or 15 or 16, but they still have their tablet or their iPad.
Right.
I mean, so who are you fooling? Don't give them a phone, but you can use your tablet. It's all good. It makes no sense to me. I'm kind of glad I had children when I did, because it was a lot easier.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Much better time. Bring back the 90s. Bring back the 90s.
And to compound matters even further, research is now even showing that higher amounts of social media use predicts higher levels of grandiose narcissism. What a shock.
no.
But I shouldn't criticize Generation Alpha. This isn't really their fault. And it would be ignorant to not discuss the parents making Generation Alpha. Because to say that Generation Alpha has had a different upbringing compared to previous generation is an understatement of epic proportions.
Oh
You see,
my
the parents of today
gosh.
are far softer than the parents of yesteryears. According to this study, when Generation Alpha children were asked who decides which apps they download, what food they eat, what toys they buy, what video games they get, and which clothes they purchase, these children were more likely than average to state they make these choices in collaboration with their parents.
Ooh, that is, I think, perhaps the underlying issue is allowing, well, I guess I should say parents allowing or forcing their kids to make far more decisions than they're capable or should be making.
I agree. I see that all the time.
That's spot on. That's spot on. Because I feel like when I was a kid, I didn't make a lot of decisions. And that was okay with me,
I was
because
gonna say, nor should you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I was okay with that. I was a child. I just wanted to live and be a child. And I feel like, yeah, it was never, what do you want for dinner? It was me asking, what's for dinner, Mom? You know,
Yes.
so it's wild how the decisions have swapped sides.
Yeah, and I've heard my friends my age say, you know, my daughter lets her children decide everything. It shouldn't be, do you want to go to the store? No, we're going to the store. Get
Yeah.
your shoes on.
Absolutely.
You know, and they're 2, they're 3, and they don't want to go, so they throw their fits, and then you give them a tablet or a phone, and it definitely, I don't know, it tends to make me think that parents are just getting lazy. Agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I used to be, so don't let your kids, is the TV a babysitter? Not necessarily a babysitter, but I had to do the laundry and fold and put away clothes and do the kitchen and clean the bathrooms. Yeah, I'm going to set you in front of the TV. You know, I mean,
Sure.
I probably wouldn't have to set you in front of a TV nowadays. If I had children, all I'd have to do is hand them my phone. But then parents probably don't like that either. And like I said, a lot of people are just looking at their phones while their kids are looking at them.
True, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a generation of consumers, whether that's on a tablet or a phone or on a computer or a TV, wherever it is. Heck, these people right now are consuming the media. No, I mean,
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you so much. No, it's wild how things have changed over the years, and even though the options and the choices and the potential for everything, literally everything in life has increased exponentially, even though we're still more depressed than ever, we're still unhealthier than ever, we're still apparently narcissistic and more nihilistic than ever. This is unreal. What's going on in the world? The only big thing has been the internet and digital, social media. Like that's the only big thing that's changed, and since the 90s, when 90s were the golden era. 90s were the greatest. I don't know. I'm a 90s kid. I love it.
That's right, the lunatics are running the asylum. Is it any wonder that we're seeing a rise in narcissism when little kids are treated like adults? Would you let a 3-year-old pick your next family vacation? No, of course not. But sadly though, it seems that more and more parents are actually open to this idea. And if parents are more concerned with being friends with their kid, rather than being first and foremost strong, stable role models, then what hope is there for humanity?
Well, that's interesting. So that's another point there is people trying to be more friends with their kids and be guiding adults and parents.
Again, it makes it easier to be a parent. By not being a parent, kind of say, isn't that basically? I mean, kids, like you just said, kids shouldn't have a choice until they're able to buy their own clothes and buy their own food and use their own transportation. It should be the parent's call, but I don't necessarily think that's the way it is.
This type of parenting is known as permissive parenting, and studies clearly show that absolutely nothing good comes from this approach to raising children. Children raised by permissive parents are prone to developing an inflated sense of entitlement, and this sense of entitlement can result in increased anxiety, a greater propensity for engaging in dishonest practices, and an unwillingness to accept constructive criticism. Permissive parenting has also been linked with the development of the aforementioned narcissism in children, due to the fact that they learn that they will receive rewards irrespective of their actions. Consequently, these children are motivated by the pursuit of admiration and validation from others, rather than adhering to moral principles. According to several research studies, children who lack parental control exhibit lower levels of self-regulation, leading to increased aggression and behavioral issues. Additionally, these children tend to form associations with deviant peers and engage in delinquent behavior. Moreover, they face greater challenges in showing respect towards others. When parents are permissive, the child doesn't just pay a price, society also pays a price, an incredibly heavy price, as entitled children become entitled and raging egotistical adults. On the topic of society, unless
You know, it kind of reminds me of a lot of the kids that are raised from Hollywood celebrities that literally have not to work in their life, and they become like narcissistic, greedy, self-absorbed people. Not all of them, of course, but the fact is that it's more prevalent and more possible for that to be a thing when you're raised in, absolute wealth, which in this case, the absolute wealth is a sea of admiration and attention, combining from parents that are wanting to be friends over parents, and the social media and the YouTube, the constant bombardment of stimulation.
I sit here and I'm thinking how parents that are able to give their kids phones and iPads, so are the poor generation, the poor children in the world. I mean, are they going to end up being the world leaders because they use their mind and their hands and they have activity over and above computer games and the internet? I wonder. I mean, it's just a thought that crossed my mind.
Well, you can already look at not necessarily the poor, the third world countries, but you can look at the Amish people that don't use technology and the internet, and their societies are completely different than ours. It's pretty wild to see. Have you seen it at all of the Amish?
As far as
like what their life is like?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no electricity, so there's
So
no
obviously no
charging
internet
a phone.
or-
Yes, there are no charging phones or
Mhm.
iPads or anything. I mean, no schematics can be pulled up on Google to build things. They just do it.
So we can kind of look. I don't think I've ever met an unhappy Amish person. We came across several Amish people when we were growing up. We had access to a local Amish community, and they always seemed very straightforward or friendly. No craziness, if you will. They made good products.
Yeah, I agree, but I mean, are those the people that are going to benefit, or are those people not going to benefit? I mean, it's gonna be interesting, and as this video is showing, it's just getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
So where do you draw the line?
Mm-hmm.
under a rock, we all know that we are becoming more fragmented and far more tribal in nature. It's even getting to the point now where people are actually talking about a civil war in the US.
Barbara F. Walter, a political science professor at the University of California, San Diego, and author of the new book, How Civil Wars Start and How to Stop Them, has this chilling warning saying we are
Barbara
closer
Walter,
to
huh?
civil war
No.
than any of us
Oh.
would like to believe.
Polls indicate that somewhere between 43 and 50% of Americans said civil war feels imminent.
This isn't normal, and this is happening because we're less willing than ever to engage with others who hold differing opinions. A core component of a cohesive society is tolerance, a willingness to grapple with ideas that challenge one's conventional beliefs. And by looking at Generation Z, you can just tell this won't be the case with Generation Alpha. In fact, they won't be comfortable with anything that involves removing themselves from their digital chambers. Take friendship, for example. Humans are social beings. We're wired to want friends and community. It's essential to our happiness. That's why in 1990, only 3% of Americans said they had no friends. It was so rare. But today, that number is 12% and growing. And
4 times as much. It increased 4 times in 30 years.
Quadrupled.
No, 20 years. I guess 20, 30 years, yeah.
Yeah. That's...
Wow. I mean, you know what? It's kind of true, though. I can say that. I can say that, and it's true about me. I don't know. Maybe. It's definitely... It's a lot easier to strictly be digital or phone call friend. And as a distant friend like that, it's even easier to lose touch. And, you know, people have kids and people get new jobs and people move and life happens. And it's so easy, especially in the digital age, to lose sight of them.
Yes. I mean, it's going to get worse. Just how bad is it going to get?
Yeah.
Decade from now, it could be higher than 20%. This ties in with the point that I discussed earlier. You see, with each generation becoming more and more reliant on tech, and the more time we spend on devices, the less time we have to actually spend on other things, like developing friendships. It is quite possible that millions of Generation Alpha kids will grow up to be adults without a single friend, not a single person to turn to in a time of crisis. That's why Generation Alpha will likely be dumber, sicker, lonelier, and more isolated than any other generation in history. I mean, Generation Z is already ridiculously anxious and depressed. Something must be done to revert this path we're going. The more and more we turn away from beliefs and traditions that serve previous generations, marriage, community, true friendships are just being replaced by artificial versions of this. Real food replaced by highly processed, nutrient-deficient frankenfoods. Outdoor activities replaced by online ones. Active lifestyles traded for sedentary ones. Real-world romance replaced by OnlyFans and a box of Kleenex tissues. The influence of family members and friends replaced by the influence of influencers. It seems like we're going down the path of Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, in which society is characterized by advanced technology, where people find themselves heavily conditioned and engineered to behave in very specific ways, to passively consume and never question, mindless cogs in a monstrous, merciless machine. The excessive stimulation of our brains is occurring due to the fierce competition amongst ruthless corporations to capture and control our attention, and in the next decade or so, we will see the true consequences of this.
It's a frightening thing to watch. Those statistics are mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. How can you... I don't know. When the grandkids come here, the only time they get their tablets is like when it's quiet time and ready for bed. And then they're limited to 10, 15 minutes. I mean, other than that, I entertain them, I guess. I mean, because they don't watch a lot of TV,
Right.
and, you know, and I've always noticed that, but I never really figured it out. Now, they're not the only ones that don't watch TV. Most children don't watch TV anymore. They'd rather have that tablet.
I think people under a certain age, there's like the TV age where at a certain point TV is just, it's too slow and not enough dopamine, not enough quickness, because with the streaming sites and YouTube and Netflix and all this, if you don't like something, you can just change on any other thing you ever want. So it's different. Whereas, you know, I think that the people above the TV are more inclined to be, okay, yeah, I'll just watch this, or flip to another channel and be okay with it. Let alone the 5 minutes of commercial at a time.
Yeah, flipping the remote is like, I guess, changing channels is kind of like just swiping up, going to the next thing, until you find something that
Right.
you like, and it's more instantaneous.
Yeah, but the biggest difference is going to be that every single time you swipe, the videos or the suggestions that get sent to you get more and more accurate to whatever is going to appeal to you. That algorithm will tailor suit to everything that is. Its goal is to literally keep your eyes glued to the screen. So, of course, it's going to throw anything that's going to keep your attention. That's why hate watchers exist, because the algorithm doesn't care if you hate or love whatever you're consuming. As long as you're consuming it, that algorithm's happy. So that in lies the big difference between television and streaming is the algorithm, whereas, you know, in television, it's all going to be scripted, and, you know, you're one of multiple agendas that's being pushed on you, you know, the whatever political agendas are trying to be pushed, or propaganda is trying to be pushed on you.
So maybe we need parenting classes more than we need anything else, because I don't think a lot of parents realize what they're doing or allowing their kids to do to themselves. Again, I'm thinking it's lazy parenting. It's the easy way out. I just glad that I didn't have to deal with it, and that's true.
Yeah. All right, well, guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to do a favor and drop a like and subscribe. Mom?
Hey, it'd be great if you did.
Cheers, y'all. Peace.